You just spent $250 on a concert ticket. You get to the show and you hear this.
Here she comes, put chatting top down.
Or you hear this. We're going to talk about live versus playback next on The Jeremy White Show.
An all-new episode of The Jeremy White Show.
Available wherever you stream.
Welcome back to The Jeremy White Show. Make sure you like, subscribe to get more cool stuff like this if you're new here. Big debate over the last couple of years has been bands using playback during live performances. Now, a lot of bands have been called out about this so much over the years, whether that be Motley Crue, whether that be accusations of Kiss using backing tracks for Paul Stanley's vocals. Now, I was talking about this with a friend of mine, and it really got me thinking. When you consider the price of concert tickets these days, you just spent $250, you go to a show, you're expecting to see your favorite artist, and they sound like David Lee Roth in this clip.
Show, burning up the avenue.
I mean, the amount of fans that were bitching and moaning about David Lee Roth on those last final Van Halen tours. Oh, Dave's lost the plot, but the band sounds great. Oh, but like, imagine they were using backing vocals or lead vocals on tape, and everybody would still be pissed off regardless. But I want to know, and drop your comment below in the comments. I'd love to know your thoughts on this as we get into it. Tracks versus no tracks. Which do you prefer? Do you prefer bands using backing tracks and sounding like the studio record versions live? Or do you want to hear all of the grit, all of the errors, all of the humanity? Or are you okay with a balance of both? I'd love to know. Sound off in the comments below. I just want to read a couple of stats here because it was super interesting. Just reading some things online, and I basically was looking at statistics on how many bands use playback during live concerts, and there isn't a definitive all-encompassing statistic on how many bands use playback during live concerts. Now, I actually used AI to pull together a bunch of info for me. Big shout out to Grok. You can give me a follow on X as well, Jeremy White MTL. You can give me a follow on Instagram, Jeremy White Show. We'll love to connect with you up there. There isn't a definitive all-encompassing statistic on how many bands use playback during live concerts, as this can vary widely depending on genre, band size, performance context. However, based on the information available from various sources, platforms like Reddit, users from communities inside of live sound or inside the music, indicated that there's a significant percentage of touring bands, especially in genres like pop, dance, and even some rock acts, using backing tracks. For instance, one user suggested that over 60% of acts carrying their own in-ear monitoring rig use at least a click track or some form of backing tracks. Now, this is particularly common in genres where choreography or complex soundscapes are a part of the performance, which is so true. I mean, like, you go see Madonna, Britney Spears, like, you know they're dancing. They have all that choreography. There's so much going on. And it's not just about the tracks being played. A lot of these shows are actually utilizing a show computer where everything is in sync, whether that be the music, the lights, the video content. There's so much stuff going on, even pyro cues to how much when the CO2 cannons go off in the middle of a song. A lot of the time, it's all programmed inside the computer, and having the tracks playing along with it doesn't necessarily mean the band's not playing live. There's so much going on that people don't take into consideration. It's not just about going up there and lip syncing. Oh, they got a show computer. Well, that means that it's probably controlling the lights with the screens, and everything's in sync. This way they're playing to a click track. People often think that just because there's a show computer or some type of technology involved, well, the band's got to be miming or lip syncing. It's not always the case. Professional Insights also said the sound engineers and musicians have shared on forums like Steve Hoffman's music forums. If you haven't checked that out yet, really cool. The backing tracks are used to replicate studio sounds live, which is totally true. A lot of bands have admitted that, especially for elements like layered vocals, strings, or additional guitar parts that can't be practically reproduced by the live band. Now, this practice is noted to be widespread in pop, country, and even some rock performances where the live sound needs to match the album's complexity. Now, this goes back to a conversation I had with Mitch LaFon, and I think we even talked about it with Neil Sean when we interviewed him together a couple of years ago, from Neil Sean from Journey, because they have been very public about using backing tracks to enhance their live sound. Now, we all know that the bands are playing live, but there's some enhancement to it. I'm going to tell you my personal opinion, and I know there's commentators like Eddie Trunk who have been vastly against the use of this stuff, aside from, I get it. You can't bring out a 40-piece orchestra out on the road to realistically make any money. That's okay on tracks. I get that part. For me, with the price of concert tickets, and we've discussed this online, I think with the price of concert tickets, fans are expecting the perfect performance. If you go to a show and the show is terrible, sound-wise, performance-wise, you're going to leave there bitching, complaining, and moaning, I just spent $250 on this concert ticket, the band and the sound sucked. But then equally, you've got a small portion of the fan base, and I call them the vocal minority. Oh, well, I went, and if I wanted to hear the album, I could have just stayed at home and put on my CD. It's not the point. Like, for me, when I go to a show and see Motley Crue, like, I know they're piping in backing vocals. We know Paul Stanley was kind of miming along to a vocal track because his voice has been shot for the last couple of years on the End of the Road tour. And I'm good with that. I know you might be like, Jeremy, you're fucked. What's wrong with you? Just stay home and listen to the CD. But no, I go for the vibe. I go for the atmosphere. I go to be in the same room with the artist that I love who created this music that I have this passion for, being in a room with like-minded individuals who love the same music that I do and enjoy in that tribal-like feeling of being there and shouting along together. That's the last thing I think about is the band playing to tracks or not. Like, it's a completely ridiculous notion that even fans think about that going in. Oh, well, you know, they're just miming, they're lip-syncing. Who cares? Who gives a fuck? Nobody fucking cares. But for some reason, this has become a conversation in the media the last couple of years, and it's completely ridiculous. It does a disservice to the fans. It does a disservice to the artists, to the industry in general. I think we should just stop talking about it. Go and enjoy and have a good time at the show. It's a show. Everybody knows when you go to the movies, Robert Downey Jr. is not really flying in the Iron Man suit. It's a performance. It's a show. I equate it to the same thing. You might think I'm an idiot for saying that, but that's my opinion on it. Now, a lot of bands have been public about it, openly admitted to using backing tracks for enhancements or to ensure consistency in live performances. For example, we talked about Motley Crue. Falling in Reverse, other bands, they've faced scrutiny or admitted to using playback to maintain the show's quality. Of course, you want to have the perfect show. Look at that Van Halen clip from 2007 tour when the keyboard played back at the wrong key or sample rate. We had Tom Weber, Eddie Van Halen's guitar tech, come on, and we actually talked about what happened at that thing. If you get a chance, go check out my interview with him, and he explains what happened in that situation. Now, while exact numbers are elusive, the consensus across all of the sources that I found and used AI and all these things online to put this thing together, apparently more than half of professional touring acts in certain genres like pop, dance, modern rock likely use some sort of playback. Whether that's for vocals, instrumental tracks, timing like click tracks, it's being used. It's the industry standard. If you see a band using in-ear monitors on stage in 2024, you can expect that they are probably playing to some sort of track or click track. Now, whether they're miming to the actual playback, who knows? Like I said, the computer could just be controlling the show, whether that's light and video content synchronization. Everything's in sync that way. Usage by various genres, even jazz and traditional rock acts, they use less playback compared to pop or electronic music, where the sound is often more digitally produced, which is true. It's used not just for vocals, but for additional music layers to synchronize with visual effects and ensure tempo consistency. Well, that's what I'm talking about. So, in closing, this information paints a picture where the use of playback in live concerts is quite common, though exact statistics would require a broader, more formal survey across different music scenes and genres. Now, I played that clip of David Lee Roth. Let's hear it one more time.
She knows she's coming home with me.
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm the biggest Van Halen fan in the world. I'm trying to get Alex Van Halen to come on the show and do an interview, talk about his book, Brothers. I'm the biggest Kiss fan around. I've had Paul Stanley on the show. Gene Simmons has been on the show. I will not talk shit about those guys. I respect and love everything that they've done. But if you went to see Kiss or you went to see Van Halen, look at the amount of people that are bitching and moaning online about Vince Neil and Motley Crue. You see videos of Motley the last couple of years, whether it was on the stadium tour. Even before they retired, people were bitching, Vince can't keep in time. He can't sing the goddamn lyrics. He's on stage shouting. Now, imagine they went out and they used a lead vocal track for Vince. Would you still be complaining? He sounds great. Oh, he sounds like the record. Oh, he sounds so good. I'm having such a great time. Or would you be like, oh, well, you know, he's lip singing. He's not even singing live. But then when he does sing live, everybody bitches and moans about it. Check out this clip that I found of Motley Crue live in Atlantic City. I think it was 2 years ago, last summer, where Vince clearly holds the microphone out over the crowd, and his vocal is literally the vocal stem from the album version of Same Old Situation. Check it out. I mean, it doesn't get more blatant than that. And nobody said anything. And you can hear his live mic versus the studio version. You know, it's clear as day. Shania Twain. I'm the biggest Shania Twain fan on the planet. She's clearly using backing tracks on the last couple of tours because she's famously lost her voice. Here's a sample of the studio version of Rock This Country.
No matter where you live.
Now here is her microphone dipping out and playing that same version in a live version. I bet you not a single person there, aside from diehards like me, would be able to pick that up. So ultimately, if people are having a great time at the shows, does it really matter? As long as it's a great show and people are having fun, I think that's all that matters. And that's the important part. But I want to know what you think. Maybe I'm fucking crazy for talking about this. What do you think? Sound off in the comments below. I'd love to know what you think, and I'll do a video reading some of your best reactions later on this week. I'm sure there's going to be some great comments. I'm sure I'm going to get ripped. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people in agreement with me, but I guess we'll see. All right. Make sure you like and subscribe. Thanks for hanging out. Drop your comments below. Give me a follow on my Instagram, Jeremy White Show, and we'll talk more in the DMs. We'll love to chat with you up there. All right. Cheers.
Hot show, burning up the avenue.
An all-new episode of The Jeremy White Show.
Available wherever you stream.
Catch up on past interviews and episodes on demand now.
Subscribe so you don't miss any of it.